The National Horseracing Authority is appealing to the National Command Council to allow closed racing during the level 4 of the lockdown period. The total ban on horse racing has impacted heavily on the industry, with about 60,000 jobs on the line and at least 400 horses facing possible euthanization. Hazel Kayiya is the racing administrator who joins us now for a bit more insight on this story. Hazel, thanks very much for your time. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Perhaps we can begin with the context. Give us an idea of how far you think the industry is from the brink of collapse.
Good morning, Ayanda, and thank you for having me. Well, the horse racing industry is certainly quite close to the brink of collapse. We've got a very unique supply chain whereby our horses are bred for racing. Without racing, there is no market for our horses to be bred. So from the agriculture point of view, that means we have got no market currently taking place. Even regardless of having horse racing being allowed, having agriculture being allowed now under level 4, if we're not able to actually show our competitive events on picture, even behind closed doors, that means that whole industry collapses.
Many people, though, might be asking why the horse racing industry should be treated any differently from many other industries that are in fact struggling during this time. Give us an idea, perhaps if we hear it from you, why the National Command Council should in fact, treat the industry differently, because these restrictions, sadly, are hitting everyone quite hard.
I certainly understand that, but what we're basically asking for, horse racing is a low contact sport. It has got a high economic value with a high GDP. Currently, we're rated in terms of our racing product 8th in the world out of 64 countries. We are also exporting our products to 42 countries around the world. And basically, the unique proposition of our industry is, if there is no money circulating from the prize money that is earned by our trainers, our owners, and our jockeys, that means that there is no industry at all. So currently, the trainers, the jockeys, we've got grooms, we've got the regulatory employees, we've got breeders. No one is currently making any money at all. And I think the most important factor to raise is, we've got horses that are being euthanized every single day. We're noticing a very high spike in the euthanasia of horses. And once that is done, the horse is the lifeblood of the industry. Without the horse, there is no industry. So we are trying to protect the industry so that even post the coronavirus, we will actually be able to survive. Without the horse, whatever measures you put in place, there will be no industry at the end of the day.
And in fact, the industry, I'm seeing, according to some reports, has been struggling for quite some time. We'll speak about that in just a moment. You mentioned the proposition that you're making to the National Command Council, which involves having a closed race take place only. Give us an idea then of how you'll be making money without spectators.
We don't actually make our money necessarily from spectators only. The industry has actually taken on board to say, let us actually race without spectators, without the punters going into our betting shop. So all of that, we're saying it must be closed. What we're just asking for is behind closed doors, so that we can export our product overseas, so that we can actually get overseas clients to bet on our products. So people will be able to actually watch races from the comfort of their own homes. And that is how we're just planning. We are willing to actually take that knock for now, in order for at least the prize money that is earned by owners and by trainers, by jockeys, as well as by grooms, so that the money can start circulating, so that they can earn a livelihood. And that was one of the reasons that we're just asking for.
And my understanding is that even in that context, you'd need about 65 people or so working to ensure that those essential operations do take place. We do know that the prohibition, though, on gatherings still remains at 50, even under level 4 lockdown regulations. How are you planning to navigate that complexity?
With regards to the numbers of 65, we do not have 65 people on course in one area. So we've got a commentator who will be sitting in their own booth separate. You've got the trainers that are by themselves. You've got the racing administrators. They have their own boardroom. So it is not, people are not in one area. So we're actually able to show that there is social distancing. We're able to separate the different groups of people such that even though the number is 65, they're never at one place at the same time. The racecourse is a massively big area where people will be located in different functions. So it is just only the skeleton staff that will just allow us to be able to put on the race that will be allowed to be on course.
So it's 65 people in the form of a skeleton staff there, but give us an idea of how many other people, because of the value chain, that might need to also get back to work, because obviously this has an impact outside the industry itself. Have you been able to quantify what that would be looking like?
So in terms of the value chain outside, in terms of besides the racing, you've got the breeding industry. We've actually got a horse sales that's coming up in July. If we're able to at least race, owners are able to make at least prize money, to earn some prize money that they'll be able to actually go buy. So when we're looking at those figures, we're looking at we've got a book that's got over 200 horses that we'll be looking at being sold. So that will be income that we're looking at. So breeders are also able to then keep their horses alive with the hope that they'll be able to actually have a market for them. So the whole industry, we're looking at about 60,000 people. So the races are basically just 15 minutes, which is 2 minutes approximately per each race, which will be able to sustain not only the 60,000 people in horse racing, but the 750,000 dependents on it as well. And that is one of the things that we're really, really appealing to the National Command Council to actually allow us to race behind closed doors.
And very quickly, has the council responded to your calls yet?
We have received some feedback, which has not been favorable, and this is one of the reasons why we're really saying let us have an engagement. They've not been able to talk to us, and we are saying let's actually have an engagement where we can actually explain from our side of the story and get to understand the council's concerns, and let's find a medium or a place where we can actually address them. We are committed to working with the council. We are committed to the national lockdown rules from level 4, from level 5. We've also implemented that. So we are willing. What we're just basically asking is engagement to say how best can we actually save the industry from a total collapse without jeopardizing the life of the.
Absolutely. All right, let's leave things there, at least for now. Thanks very much for getting us into the picture so well. Hazel Kayiya is the National Horseracing Authority's executive as well as a racing administrator. I certainly do appreciate your time.